If you found yourself going to a stream you've never fished before,
And nice back cast. I
I know
learned
a
to do
lot
that
of you will
because
try to
half the
find
time
as much
I'm
information
bored I
as
can.
but if you're there
You know,
and you don't
because
have the
This is a real
information,
light vest.
here's
It's
some
hot out here today.
suggestions
It was
on
closer
how
to
fish
90,
a stream
and yet
you've
by the
never
time
fished
we leave
before.
this stream, it's probably going to be about 55, and I might need that jacket even if it doesn't rain. I'm in mountain country. You got to be prepared. So I'm going to use my backpack, and I'll be a lot more mobile. So let's get started, and before you go, you might notice I've got a fly on. You know, I've got to have something on my rod, and I've noticed hoppers. That's the first thing that I discovered when I got here, that there's hoppers everywhere. So I'm going to put a hopper on, and I may even attach a nymph to that to do a little searching. But we're going to find that out once we get to the stream. So let's go. Come join me. Well, this is the first time I've seen the stream. And one of the first things I'm going to look at is just kind of get a general lay of what the stream's about. And right now, there's not a lot of cover. I see grassy banks. I see a very low stream. This is late July, and this is low water for this stream. This stream, I talked to the locals. They said there's brown trout and rainbows, some really big brown trout in it. And when you have this kind of a stream, there's not going to be a lot of fish in it. There's going to be some big fish, which means stalking, and it's going to be a test of observation. I've looked around the banks. I've looked for any type of insects on the water. I've scanned the stream bed, and there's a lot of small rocks, but there's a lot of moss in here. And that's going to tell me a little bit about what insects I can expect. That moss, and it means that there's a lot of stagnant water. There's not a lot of moving water. Probably a few springs that feed this, which means crane flies. Probably can be thinking about woolly buggers a little later on if a hatch doesn't occur. There's a lot can be learned. And right now I'm going to have to do a lot of walking and observing, I'm afraid, because this is really not enough cover without a hatch. This is a little bit too dead of water, and without a hatch it's going to be pretty difficult to get up on these fish because they're going to be very wary. My guess is they're going to be, wherever there's cover, we're going to find brown trout here. And it's going to be one of those type of evenings where we're going to be stalking and watching. And I'll bet you before the evening's over, we're going to have a big fish to fish to. It may not be a stream where we get a lot of fish, but it may be a stream we get a big fish. Well, this is the first good habitat I've seen. And I'm not going to walk by this. I'm sure there's better habitat above it, but I need to get loosened up. I don't want to come up on the best hole and not be ready. I want to kind of get casting a little bit. I haven't seen any insects. Nothing, the wind's still going, and I see some grass. It looks like if I was a hopper going to get blown into the water and I was a trout, I'd be underneath that bank over there. There's two little places there. So I'm going to go down there and give it a go, and I'm going to probably look for some better water, but I got to get loosened up. And I definitely wouldn't want to be on that opposite bank. I'll be highlighting against the sun that's setting. So I'm actually on the right bank. Everything's looking good. But I'm also going to check my cast here. And I'm not going to do a bunch of false casts towards that bank. I'm going to lay it out behind me, let some line out, and get prepared. Now I'm ready. And so I'm going to kind of just take a few steps and work my way up watching. Many times I've been doing this to do a blind cast and I see a fish rise, and then I know where they're at. So I'm going to approach it very carefully. Now before I get any closer, I'm going to bring in and do a few short casts, just right over here. What I want to do is just make sure there's not a big brown laying in there sunning himself looking for a hopper off the bank. If I don't see him and I walk up on him, I could spook the whole hole. Many times I've caught some of my biggest fish doing that. Now I'll do a couple runs through that, just kind of as protection. And that looks like nothing going on. Now I'm ready to move on up. Again, I'm going to readjust my cast with my line behind me, and then we're going to stalk up here. Again, looking, watching.
When we return to Fly Fish TV, Jack fishes his way into the setting sun in hopes of tagging at least one fish.
Again, misdirect and make the cast. There we go. Oh, there he was. All right. And he took the hopper. Sometimes you just got to make them more than one cast. A lot of anglers think if they make the first one or two casts over the fish that that'll do it. All right, one of the things I want to do is get the line. Now I've got light tippet, so I'm going to follow this fish downstream. He's a nice wild brown trout. Ease him in, just right on this gravel. I'm going to try to get him in as quick as I can. There we go. It is warm water, and I don't want to fight him a long time. He didn't like that, did he? I lost my advantage here. He's got me down in the deeper water. Now I'm going to get a little closer. Got a little 4-weight. Boy, this is a great fun when you get a fish this big on a 4-weight. And we'll get around. Whoop, he's getting away from me a little bit. Oh, we got him now. Hey, what a beautiful fish. About an 18, 19-inch brown on a dry fly. Boy, you can't ask for anything better than that. Great little brown here, about 18, 19 inches. Boy, that's what fly fishing's all about, to see him come clear up out of the water and take him. And we're going to let him go here. We're going to make sure he swims out of here on his own power. There he goes. Great fun. Observation. I would have never guessed that a fish would have been out in that shallow water, but it's evening. And in the evening, they go out of their traditional places. They're not in the deep holes, they're in the shallow water. So it's these eyes, taking your time and observing. And also make a few casts. That proves it, doesn't it? We made about 7 casts. Let's go find another one.
Jack had accomplished his goal: to read the situation, apply a strategy, and ultimately to catch fish. It's a kind of satisfaction that can be had most anywhere. Find a piece of water you haven't tested before and go on your own small journey of discovery.
It'd definitely be where I'd have a nymph on, and that's where I'd go with the nymph, is right along that feed line. This happens to be a Turk's tarantula. It rides very low in the water. And because of the legs, it can imitate a crane fly. And then pretty soon we're going to see it'll be crane fly time. They like the evening, they like early in the morning. And of course we got to be thinking about the crane fly nymphs too, and that's where your woolly buggers will come in. I'm thoroughly convinced that your rubber leg flies and your girdle bug flies and your flash of buggers and all that are really oh, there we go. Boy, he leaped right out. He was right under that moss. I didn't see him rise. Whew. Again, you know, I would think he took this for a crane fly because he wasn't looking, he wasn't out feeding. He actually made a wake right out from underneath the bank to take the fly. I'm gonna probably put him on the reel here. Well, let's see. I gotta watch it. A bunch of brush over there. And I'll tell you, a lot of people are so worried about getting the fish on the reel that they'll forget what the fish is doing. And I wanna make sure I got the fish under control and away from any brush. Oh, that's a nice fish. We got a beauty here. Okay, I'm easing it back onto the reel, and I'm gonna try to get as close as I can to this fish. When you fight big fish on light tackle, you want to keep it high and let that rod do the work for you. Okay, right now I think we've got a little bit of control. I'm looking for a good place to bring him in. When I'm by myself, I tend not to at times use a net. Here he comes. Okay, this is the point where a lot of people lose fish. They get a little bit too anxious. If you just kind of ease him up, and then we'll we've actually won the battle. If he gets off now, that's no big deal. There's a nice fish. That'd probably go 20 inches. Just a nice fish. He got him right in the inside of the roof of the mouth. And the fly comes right out. This is end of July and the water's really warm, so we don't want to fight him very long. As you notice, we got him right in. There he goes. What a treasure, wild brown trout. These were planted in, I think, the 1890s. It's a magic hour. We need to be up there. They may not be rising, but they're rising to this fly. Let's see if we can find another one.
As the sun sank slowly in the west, our pace picked up, and Jack abandoned his careful stalk in favor of his more customary charge. The cover of fading light gave him one more shot at a decent trout.
I'm going to run it right down that current. There we go. Now he took it pretty subtle. Just kind of sucked it in. Woo! Love this magic hour. Oh, he got away from us. Ah, I probably should have put some more pressure on that fish. And with 5X, I have to say that I was a little nervous. So we'll cut it
You
back
can't
there.
expect to catch every fish, but memories had been retrieved, cached in Jack's creel of adventures, ready to be sprung on the next available audience.